is the most. I think this rookie class feels like KD is the most relatable to them. He's young enough to where they've seen his entire career, but old enough to where they can still look up to him to a certain degree. Whereas Kobe is definitely the elder statesman. LeBron would be that next tier of player where we've seen you from A to current. And I think KD is the youngest to really reach any type of a pinnacle, to get to the finals, to have that major exposure for them to identify themselves with. So I don't think it's surprising that he's high on the list.
Durant's also that guy that went somewhere, stayed somewhere, was the cornerstone or the flagship player for an organization. I think he's done well with his movies, his commercials. I think with his sneakers, he's one of the few guys that's been able to create a good. I don't know how much influence he has on how his sneakers turn out, but I've never bought any Kobe's. I've never bought any LeBron's. I would buy a pair of Durant's, and the new Durant's. I don't know if these are the 9s or whatever, but I would actually buy those. And then, like I mentioned, it may not have been on Hoops and Hops, but the Kevin Durant documentary, you can hear Apollo and get ready to get in him a second. But Durant actually had a documentary last year, and I felt like it was so down to earth that I feel like he engendered some a following and some support from other NBA players or college players at that time, that I just feel like that's what we're seeing. And I also feel like Durant also gives you that he gives you that inside outside game, whereas LeBron is just kind of getting there. So I don't know. I was a little shocked. I was a little shocked that people still respect old man Wade. I told you before, I think Curry takes a knock because how grounded he is. You used that term earlier. And LeBron, I just think LeBron has a target on his back. I mean, with him coming in third, it's just people that,
like myself, aren't his biggest fans.
And I'll be honest, I'm never gonna get over the first decision.
Yeah,
I give him credit now for coming back and doing what he's doing, but I can't ever forget that he opted out at one point. So that's that. Look, this is the Pay Me No Mind show with Hoops and Hops. That's one of the NBA surveys. Rookies for 2016, man. I know we've kind of touched on this, but some things as Apollo welcomes himself back into the room. So another NBA survey that came out was, what are the awards for the end of the year? And it looks like Jahlil Okafor has been picked over Karl Anthony Towns, who was the number 1 pick. Jahlil was the number 3 pick. And people are saying that Jahlil is likely to have the better career and possibly be Rookie of the Year. Any thoughts on that, man?
I think that Jahlil has a more complete game today.
Minus the defense?
Yeah, I guess let's recant a bit there. I think he has a more complete offensive game. I think that he can, as proven throughout the summer league, I think that he can go out and kind of dominate offensively now. And I think that regardless of what we think goes into Rookie of the Year or MVP, offense has a huge role in it. And so while Okafor is probably going to be a better defensive player, there's no way that he's going to get the same amount of buckets.
You mean Towns?
Towns, Karl Anthony Towns. I don't know why I said it.
Okay, because you threw me up.
What that is that's that hop slam at 10%.
Gotcha.
And then that growler. We've gotten halfway through as in addition to some of those other things.
Just me trying to keep up with you, I was lost. It was like it was a pick on me.
Yeah,
man. I'm with you. I think from what I saw in the Las Vegas League and the summer leagues, I feel like, and I said this as he was coming out of school. When you put Okafor on the NBA court and the spacing is different, you can't double team somebody without the ball. I felt like, because people were talking about his dribbling ability and the number of times that he dribbled the ball off of his feet or off of his foot in college. And like I said, you can play 3 people on one person. And I think the college game is very bad for big men. And even though Karl Anthony Towns is a big man, I just felt like Okafor throughout the course of the season, more often, he was facing 2 and 3 people on him. And he's trying to dribble and get into his shots and whatnot. And I just felt like once we got to the NBA Summer League and the spacing was different, I felt like he was putting the ball on the ground with better confidence. He was attacking the rim. And I just thought he clearly showed that, he was slighted a little bit in being picked at number 3 overall, but he might be the real deal.
Yeah, I mean, look, both of those guys are going to have the chance to be the focal point of their offense. Like, it's not like Philly or the Timberwolves.
Towns is in a better situation overall, though.
Probably.
I mean, no, Embiid's not coming back next year.
Yeah. But I don't think either of those teams are ready to win. And so, you say different?
Nah, neither one is ready. I mean, Philadelphia is probably 3 years away.
Yeah. And they've notably said, we're going to suck, basically. Like, they've basically said, we're trying to better ourselves through the draft, through picks, and through acquisition. And Milwaukee has tried, or not Milwaukee, the Timberwolves have tried to be competitive. Like, it wouldn't, last year, the past 2 years really, going into the season, Timberwolves have been an underdog pick for a lot of people to make some noise in the Western Conference. And due to injury and maybe some bad management, they've never achieved that goal. But I think the Timberwolves, until a certain point in the season, have been trying to win.
Agreed.
Whereas Philly has basically told you, yeah, we're going to be terrible for the next 4 or 5 years.
Right. I just think Okafor, and we can get ready to get into this bad boys discussion, but I think Okafor he's a little ticked off. I like the fact that his dad is in his life. His dad has held expectations on him. Now, Karl Anthony Towns is coming from 2 parents. I don't know if they're still together. I can't remember the story during the draft.
Yeah, that's been something that I feel like hasn't been focused on. Like, they definitely did separate interviews and seemed to have separate lives. But they were both there at the draft.
Exactly. So that's what I'm getting at. I think these, and you can hear Apollo refreshing himself, hydrating himself as we are.
Break time, yeah.
But that's interesting. Due to time constraints, man, we got to move on into this. I know you got some handwritten stuff over there.
Yeah,
I got me some type
scratch
stuff over here. And we're going to get into this Bad Boys 81 to 96 period versus the Pistons of 2004, who actually had a hell of a run.
Yeah, I mean, they probably, I'd say we're probably looking at 02 to probably 06 with those Pistons. And
why 07? Because I got them as having the best record in the East in 07. So that's what we're getting ready to do. I don't know if this is first take style or whatever, but Hoops and Hops is going to square off on these Bad Boys versus the 2004.
Go to work.
Yeah, give me your thoughts on it, man.
So let's do this. Full disclosure. I grew up as a Lakers fan.
Why be there?
Particularly because my father was a Pistons fan. And as a kid, I wanted to go against him. So whoever he was rooting for, I wanted them to lose. And that was Showtime era and Bad Boys era. And it was very hard for me to not root for somebody named Magic.
Okay.
But as an adult, when I really started taking a liking to the NBA, to really understanding the game, I found myself identifying or wanting the 03-04 Pistons to win that championship. I'm a huge Kobe Bryant fan, but in that year, that championship game, I was rooting for those Pistons because they played the right way.
Right. So let's throw out some of these roster names. So in 2004, you had Ben Wallace,
right?
Hamilton, Rasheed Wallace was brought in, and
via trade from the Trailblazers, right?
Right. I don't have the year right in front of me, but I think it was.
He came in that year. It was an 03 year.
04. Yeah, he came in 04, I believe.
It was, well, technically, yeah.
Right. For the 04 season.
Right.
Chauncey Billups, Tayshaun Prince was there, Eldon Campbell, who had some big moments, Mehmet Okur,
right.
Corliss Williamson played some good moments, and the Lindsey Hunter experiment was still going on.
That's my guy.
Now, the Bad Boys consisted of Rodman, obviously. Zeke came in 81. He was drafted. Lane Beer came over from Cleveland. Vinnie Johnson came over from the Supersonics in 1982. Joe Dumars was drafted in 85, and then Sally and Rodman both were drafted within about 12 picks of one another in 1986. And then James Edwards was added as a center in 1988. Dantley was there for a couple of years over from the Jazz. He was traded for Mark Aguirre, who finished up in 89. Rick Mahorn was in there. You can throw in anybody if I'm forget. I thought I mentioned Rodman.
That's
pretty much
that's the 88-89 team.
That's pretty much who we're matching up against here.
Right, and I guess let's preference that, and I guess I should clarify or ask for clarification. I took the 03-04 team from the Pistons and put them against the 88-89 team. So that's the first championship for those Bad Boys. I've got notes on 89-90, but I figured the first time you win it's what we want to talk about.
That's cool. So, in 3 to 4 points, why did you go with the 04 Pistons against my Bad Boys who I'm rolling with?
Wow, I like how you said my Bad Boys. Okay, so let's just full disclosure here.
Oh, Larry Brown in 04.
Chuck Daly.
What was his nickname for the suit game?
A whole bunch of nicknames. Mr. Clean. The Man of the Hour. Too Rich to Be Sour.
Daddy Rich was
Daddy
one.
Rich.
Daddy Rich is what I'm thinking. Yeah. So Larry Brown was don't even give me a nickname.
Nicknames.
And Daddy Rich were the coaches.
Listen, I am a Pistons fan. Okay, so through quote unquote revisionist history, I have studied up on the Bad Boys. I'm very aware of what they've accomplished. So I'm not gonna sit here and say I don't think they'd have a chance. In reality,
are we doing a best of 7?
Best of 7.
Okay, best of 7.
So what I'm gonna do is just try to play devil's advocate here and say why the 03-04 Pistons would have a chance at this.
Okay.
But yeah, so Chauncey, Rip, Tay, Sheed, Ben.
I saw yesterday, I hate to interrupt you, but I saw that Tay was selected as the most legendary block of all time for that
up against
block.
Reggie Miller.
Right, in the playoffs.
Down.
I just thought I'd throw that in there.
That is very nice.
That's an assist.
Yeah, and Yeah, a lot of people like to talk about LeBron as the greatest chase down artist of this era. Tay started that.
Okay.
Tay started that. But yeah.
So run this down for me. We got